Maybe you can say when you read.
Okay. Today is the very auspicious day of Sri Krishna Vasanta Panchami, and it's the day. Ja, ik weet het. And today is the day for the worship of the goddess of learning, Saraswati, and she is accepted as the consort of Narayan. There are two types of learning. One is para and one is apara. Para is the principal type of knowledge by which we can understand and which helps us to reach the quench, the eternal thirst we are suffering from, and reach the highest type of love, where Krishna's mercy is over justice. Prema. Love is the only object there, where the most fallen are taken in, and Mahaprabhu came with that. And Vishnu Priya, this is the day of also worship of Krishna, the appearance day of Vishnu Priya, and she helped us in a way like that, like she gave her own life to the world, like she renounced. She was very stern and very strict. That is the day of her appearance today. And we will reading from the Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, Volume 2, Chapter 7. The appearance by Srila Bhakti Rakshitadev Goswami Maharaj. The appearance of Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi. Today is the holy day of Vasanta Panchami, the 5th day of the light fortnight of the moon, month of Magh, when Krishna is worshipped with the new flowers of spring. So this is the first day of spring in India. On this day, the holy advent of Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi occurred. Her father was Sri Sanatan Mishra of Navadvip, who was a Brahmana and great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi is the eternal consort of Sri Gaura Sundar in his feature of Gaur Narayan. And according to Sri Gauranga no Desha Deepika, she is directly Satyabhama in Krishna Dwarka Lila. She was the second wife of Sriman Mahaprabhu in the householder period of his pastimes. From childhood, she was devout in the divine service of the Supreme Lord. Kasinatha Pandit was the intermediary in her marriage to Mahaprabhu. She was the ideal of divine self-surrender at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. When she was only 14, Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and after that, she lived the rest of her life in penance. From early morning, she would take the holy name the whole day, and for every Mahamantra that she chanted, she would put 1 grain of rice into a clay pot. After chanting her quota, she would take that rice and cook it and offer to the Lord. That was all she would take for her subsistence. So gradually she became emaciated. She passed her days in this way. Her brother was her guardian after Sachi Devi departed, and ultimately she had a Sri Murti deity of Mahaprabhu, and she would worship him in that form. And since the time of Vishnu Priya, that worship is being continued up to the present in the temple here in Navadvip, known as Mahaprabhura Badi, the home of Mahaprabhu. So this day of the year is connected with her holy memory, and we may achieve her grace if we honor this time in her name, discussing her pastimes. She will be propitiated, and Sri Chaitanya will also be pleased with us. giving us a step forward in our transcendental march towards Him. It's also the appearance of Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Today is also the appearance day of Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He is considered to be Vrishabhanuraj of Vasanta, Vrindavan, the father of Srimati Radharani. Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi was born in a Brahmana family at Chattakram, and he bore the title Vidyanidhi on account of his scholarship. Apparently, he was a man of luxurious habits. In those days, people who could afford would have a house in Navadvip on the banks of the holy Ganges river. They would from time to time visit Navadvip to regularly bathe in the Ganges and remain for some time in this holy place, and then return to their homes to continue their livelihood. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi also had a house in Navadvip. Here in Gauralila, Gadadhar Pandit was the representation of Srimati Radharani herself. At that time, Gadadhar Pandit was a young boy. He was younger than Mahaprabhu. Mukunda Datta was a follower and admirer of Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Dev, and he also came from Chattakram, the village of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He knew Pundarik Vidyanidhi to be a man of higher religious type, that is, a Bhagavata type, or Krishna Bhakta. But outwardly, Pundarik Vidyanidhi lived a life of luxury. He was a well-to-do man, a general zamindar, state owner. Mukunda Datta naturally knew him when he came to Navadvip, since he hailed from the same place. Mukunda Datta went to Gadadhar Pandit and asked him, "Would you like to have the darshan of a Vaishnava?" From childhood, Gadadhar Pandit was very fond of Vaishnavas and Krishna Nam. He had much fondness for Nimai Pandit when the Lord returned from Gaya. Previously, he was very much afraid of Nimai Pandit, because whenever they met, Nimai Pandit would always tackle him with some apparent quarrel about etymology or something of that nature. So after returning from Gaya, when Sri Chaitanya expressed his devotional aspect, he said one day, "Gadadhar, from your very childhood, you are a devotee of Krishna, and my days have been wasted discussing grammar and mundane literature. But you, Gadadhar, my friend, your life is very successful. You have fulfillment of life. From the beginning, you are fond of Krishna Nama." So from the beginning, Gadadhar Pandit's heart was towards Krishna. Therefore, when Mukunda Datta asked him, "Would you like to see a Vaishnava who has come from afar?" the reply was, "Yes, yes, I shall go. Take me there." So Mukunda Datta took Gadadhar Pandit to Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And what kind of Vaishnava was Pundarik Vidyanidhi? He was sitting on a luxurious bedstead, smoking a very ornate and valuable pipe. His head was adorned with beautiful oiled curly locks, and many valuable pastes were anointed on his body. 2 attendants fanned him on either side. Gadadhar Pandit thought, "Mukunda has brought me to this luxuriously loving man, sitting on the bedstead and smoking. What type of Vaishnava has he brought me to see?" He was disappointed at heart, and Mukunda could guess it. Mukunda Datta was a very good singer, and in a very sweet tone he sang this sloka of Bhagavatam. "Aho baki yam stana kalakutam, jik ham saya payavat api asvatvi. Lebe katim datri uchitam tato nyam. Kamva dayalum. Sharanam brajema. This sloka was chanted by Mukunda in a very sweet tone, and this created a wonderful effect in Pundarik Vidyanidhi. The Bhagavatam says, who else but Krishna should be approached? Who can be so kind, so gracious? There is limitless grace in him. Why? Baki, Putana, came to kill him in a treacherous way, taking the garb of a Datri, a motherly garb. In this way, she came to try and kill him. Yet Krishna gave her a position as a nursemaid in his group of assisting mothers. So gracious is the Lord. Who else can we approach for our good? This is the meaning of the verse. She painted deadly poison on her breast and came to suckle the boy Krishna. So treacherous was her action. In the garb of motherly affection, she tried to murder the boy, and she was given such a high position as an attendant of his mother. She was elevated to the motherly group. Such grace, such mercy he showed, without considering or passing judgment on the worth of that action. So other than that kind-hearted and gracious Krishna, where else should we go for shelter? This entered the heart of Pundarik Vidyanidhi and began to vibrate, and produced such force that he was stunned. Then shivering began, and madly gesticulating. He began to pull his hair and tear his silken dress, kicking over the tobacco and pipe. His rich bedding and dress were ruined, and he began to roll on the ground and cry, Kamva dayalum sharanam brajema. In whom shall we take shelter other than him? Then Kadada Pandit thought, oh, I have committed a great offense in my mind, thinking he was not a Vaishnava because of his fashionable dress and style. Really, how great a Vaishnava he is! What a wonderful effect the memory of Krishna caused in him. Then Kadada Pandit revealed his mind. Mukunda, I have committed offense against this great Vaishnava. What will be my fate? When I first saw him, I shunned him. I committed offense. I think that if I take mantra from him, become his disciple, then he may forgive all my offenses. There is no other way to be absolved from this Vaishnava aparat. I shall have to inform my Lord Gaurachandra Nimai Pandit about this. So they left the place of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and Kadada went to take Nimai Pandit's permission to become the disciple of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Before anyone knew that Pundarik had come from Chattakram to Navadvip, and even before Mahaprabhu had met him, Mahaprabhu was seen to suddenly cry, Bap Pundarik, Bap Pundarik, in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Nimai was taking his name. Bap means father. So he was calling, Father Pundarik, Father Pundarik. Nimai Pandit was chanting like this in the mood of Radharani. When Kadada made his proposal to Mahaprabhu, the Lord immediately replied, Yes, very good proposal. Go and accept him at once. Kadada Pandit represents Radharani in Gaura Lila, and Pundarik is Radharani's father in Krishna Lila. The guru is like the father, and the disciple is like the child. So Mahaprabhu at once approved, and Gadadhar took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He was none other than Vrishabhanuraj, and Gadadhar was the incarnation of Radharani in Gaura Lila. Pundarik Vidyanidhi would not take bath in the Ganges because he could not tolerate that his feet would touch the holy Ganges river. Before daybreak, he would go to the Ganges and take some of the water on his head. He did not go to the Ganges by day because he could not tolerate to see persons who would dive into the water or spit there and contaminate the pure holy water by misusing it. Before worship, prayer, etc., the general Pandit section may bathe in the Ganges and fast to purify their bodies of sin. But Pundarik Vidyanidhi would rather drink some Ganges water prior to his daily worship and duties, thereby teaching us the proper worshipful respect due to the Ganga. In Puri, his dearmost friend and associate was Sri Swarup Damodar. When he went to Puri, he felt some pain in his heart that the priestly servants of Lord Jagannath dressed the Lord in starched cloth, which is generally considered impure. When cloth is manufactured by hand loom, the thread is soaked in boiled rice water, which acts as a paste to hold it firm in the loom. That cloth is considered impure and must first be rinsed in water before offering it to the deity. But in Puri, that was not the practice. They directly used starched cloth for dressing Lord Jagannath, and Pundarik Vidyanidhi could not accommodate this. That night he dreamt that both Jagannath and Balaram came to him and dealt slaps to his cheeks, saying, "You have come here to point out the defects in my servitors? What is this?" They both began to slap him, and the dream was so intense that when he rose in the morning, he found that both his cheeks were inflamed. He expressed to his most intimate friend, Swarup Damodar, "My dear friend, Swarup Damodar, such is my position. I had this objectionable feeling in my heart towards these servitors, so Jagannath and Balaram have punished me in this way. See the swelling on my both cheeks." Such was the nature of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. In essence, we are told that he is the father of Srimati Radharani, incarnated here as Pundarik Vidyanidhi. A slight holy association of this day, his appearance day, will help us a great deal in our advancement of spiritual life. The appearance of Sri Raghunandana Thakur. Thirdly, this is also the birthday of Raghunandana Thakur. He was born in a place named Srikanda, near Katwa, in the Kaviraj family, a lineage of Ayurvedic doctors. Raghunandana was the son of Mukunda Kaviraj, who was such a notable doctor that even kings called for him for treatment. Raghunandana was a bachelor his whole life. His figure was extraordinarily beautiful, and he was very fond of dancing. From the beginning he was, of course, a natural devotee. The family of Mukunda Thakur worshipped their ancestral deity at home. Once, when Raghunandana was a growing boy who had perhaps only recently received the sacred thread and admission to worship, his father asked him, "I am going out, and won't return in time. You please worship the deity and feed him. Offer bogam for his food. His expression was, please try to feed my deity. When he was away, Raghunandanan's mother cooked many items and brought them to the temple and asked Raghunandana to offer them to the deity. Generally, the doors are kept closed during worship. So behind the closed doors, Raghunandana offered and prayed to the Lord. Please take these dishes I am offering you. Please eat. But Sri Murti did not answer or come forward to eat. Raghunandana began to cry. My father will rebuke me. He has requested me to feed you, and you are not eating. I'll be punished. You have to take this food. The sincere boy began to cry in such a way that Krishna had to eat. Raghunandana was satisfied and came out from the deity room. His mother came to remove the prasadam. What is this? All the plates are empty. Raghunandana replied, you asked me to feed the deity. He has taken. His mother said angrily, you boy, you have eaten it. The deity doesn't eat. We offer everything remains, and afterwards we take the prasadam. You wicked boy, you have turned out to be such a rogue. You have eaten everything. No, I did not eat. The deity ate everything. This is impossible, you foolish boy. Do you want to make a fool of me? This can never happen. He began to cry. No, I'm speaking the truth. All right, let your father come and I shall ask him to punish you. Mukunda returned and Raghunandana's mother complained. Your boy has grown to be such a rogue. He says the deity has eaten. Raghunandana also petitioned his father. Yes, the deity has eaten. He would not take in the beginning, but I began to cry, and then he ate. Is this true? Yes, it is true, my father. I'm not lying. Can you show me? I shall try. So he was given another chance to worship, and from a hidden place his father could see that the deity had actually taken the food. Such a devotee was Raghunandana Thakur. When he danced in Sankirtan, it was such a charming scene that even Mahaprabhu was attracted. During the Jagannath Ratha Yatra, 7 special groups would chant and dance, and in the party from Sri Kanda, we find that Raghunandana was the dancer. So today is the day connected with the memory of Sri Raghunandana Thakur, who is considered to be Pradyumna avatar. Many more incidents occur in his pastimes. I have only touched on them. It is also said that near the banks of the lake Madhu Puskarini there is a jambu tree, and according to his wish, 2 kadamba flowers bloom on the tree every day for the worship of his deity. Many miracles are found in his pastimes. The appearance of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Then the 4th personality in Sri Raghunath Das Goswami is Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. He was born nearly 500 years ago in Krishnapur village, Hooghly district. He came in the Kayasta caste. His father, Hiranya Majumdar, was a very rich man. His father had 1 brother, Govardhan, but Raghunath was the only child. His father and uncle were state-owned landowners, At that time, they collected 20 lakhs rupees in taxes. 12 lakhs was to be paid to the king, and their net income was 8 lakhs. 20 lakhs is 2 million rupees. Raghunath heard about Mahaprabhu after his sannyas. Hiranya and Govardhan had association with Advaita Acharya, and they used to make an annual contribution to all the superior Sanskrit scholars and their schools in Bengal of the time. When Mahaprabhu went back to Sri Advaita Acharya's house, Advaita Bhavan, after his sannyas, Raghunath Das came and saw him and became mad with love of Krishna. His heart was completely melted by Mahaprabhu's beauty and charming personality. His devotion and his teachings of devotion for Krishna. Mahaprabhu himself was also aware of this. Raghunath would not leave Mahaprabhu, but the Lord told him, "Go home, don't be over-enthusiastic. Control yourself. Keep your divine love for Krishna within your heart and don't express it outwardly. Don't advertise it. Very soon the time will come when Krishna will guide you. He will make a way for you. Don't allow any external show, but keep it within your heart. Stira hanya kare yaho, nahao batula. Grame grame paya loka, bhava sindhu kula." From Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 16th chapter, verse 237. Compose yourself and go home. Don't be a madman. One reaches the shore of the material ocean gradually. Then he later came into the association of Nityananda Prabhu in Panihati. Nityananda Prabhu said to him, "Give a feast here for my followers. You are the son of a rich man, so manage to give a feast here for my followers." Raghunath did so, and Nityananda Prabhu was very satisfied. He also blessed him, saying, "Very soon your bright day will come." And he addressed his devotees, "See this young boy, he has immense wealth. In abundance he has everything required for a young man's enjoyment. But he doesn't care for it. Krishna's grace has come down into his heart, so he doesn't care for anything of this world. But he is mad to leave his home of material grandeur and become a street beggar. He has become mad for Krishna. Just see this high ideal. Devotion, attraction, love of Krishna has made him mad. He is very, very fortunate. This royal dignity and prosperity cannot please him." Anyway, he returned home, but one day Hiranya and the others noticed that he no longer entered the inner section of the house. He began to stay in the outer section only. His father and other guardians thought that his condition had become very grave. So 10 men were engaged to keep guard that he may not leave. One day in the early morning before sunrise, the family guru, Yadunandana Acharya, suddenly entered the house. Finding Raghunath in the outer section of the house, he met him and requested him, "I am going out for some important business, but there is no one to worship my deity. So please ask one Brahmana disciple in my name to serve the deity for a day or two during my absence." As Yadunandana Acharya left, Raghunath went with him. The guards saw him going with the family guru, so they did not interfere. On the day On the way, Raghunath requested the Guru, "You maybe go ahead with your business, and I shall request the gentleman to do the worship in your absence." The Guru left. Raghunath took advantage of the situation. Perhaps he requested that man to do the service, but he started off in the direction away from Puri. He knew that as soon as they realized at home that he wasn't returning, they would send men to search for him on the way to Puri. So for the whole day he walked in the opposite direction. In the evening he stopped at the coward's man's house, took a little milk from him and passed the night in the cowshed. Then in the morning he started for Puri. When his guardians found that Raghunath had not returned home, they heard from the guards that he had gone with the family guru. They went to the guru's house, but Raghunath was not to be found. Then they thought that he must have left for Puri, and they sent 10 men to that site. They returned without finding him. In this way, Raghunath cleverly managed to escape. For 12 days he walked to Puri, taking food here and there, but only 3 of those days. On the other days, no food was necessary. He was held by divine love, surcharged. He had already heard that Mahaprabhu was at the Gambhira, the Kashimishra Bhavan. He went there and in the courtyard fell flat in obeisances to Mahaprabhu. Mukunda Datta announced to the Lord, "Raghunath has come." Mahaprabhu said, "Yes, look after him. He has come with great difficulty, walking and walking without food. Take care of him for a few days. Then he will manage for himself." That was the direction of Mahaprabhu. For a few days Raghunath took prasadam there. After that he began to beg at the gate of Jagannath temple. The parents now thought it was impossible to bring him back, and they didn't make any further attempt. But they sent some money with 1 brahmana and 2 servants, instructing them to hire a house and offer Raghunath a place to stay, and see that their son may not die without food. They tried their best, but Mahaprabhu continued to subsist on alms. Over a period of 2 years, Raghunath invited Mahaprabhu to take prasadam at that house, and the Lord did so for his satisfaction. After that, Raghunath left that idea, thinking, "This is only to produce some name and fame for me." Mahaprabhu is not pleased with such prasadam. Swarup Damodar was the dearmost attendant of Mahaprabhu, and a very good scholar as well. Raghunath was also a scholar. We find that later he left the world beautiful poetry in Sanskrit. Mahaprabhu gave Raghunath over to the charge of Swarup Damodar, saying, "I request Swarup Damodar to take your charge, and he will advise you what will be necessary for your devotional life." But suddenly one day, Raghunath approached Mahaprabhu. Why have you not managed to take me out of my house, and what is my best benefit? If you please tell me in your own words, my heart will be satisfied." Mahaprabhu said, "I have given you over to the charge of Swarup Damodar. He is more qualified than even myself. Still, if you want to hear something directly from me, then I shall say in brief. Gramya kata na sunibe, gramya varta na kahibe. Bala na kahibe ara, bala na paribe. Amani mananda, Hanya Krishna Nama Sada Labe, Braje Radha Krishna Seva, Manase Karibe. Don't indulge in worldly talk. Don't hear worldly talk. Try your best to avoid mundane matters. Don't eat delicious dishes, but take whatever ordinary food may come of its own accord. And don't dress luxuriously. Always try to take the name of Krishna with the attitude of giving respect to others, without expecting respect from anyone. Be humble, but never aspire after respectful dealings from others. In this way, try to take the name of Krishna constantly, and within, try to serve Sri Sri Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. Mentally, be in Vrindavan, rendering service to Sri Sri Radha Lila. Mahaprabhu told Raghunath that this was the essence of his advice to him. Then he again took Raghunath's hand and offered it to the hand of Sarup Damodar. He said, I am giving you to the charge of Sarup Damodar. He is the best spiritual master. He will take care of you. After Raghunath's arrival in Puri, Mahaprabhu stayed there continuously for 16 years. After that, Mahaprabhu departed from the world. Raghunath left Puri and went to Vrindavan, thinking, I have what is to be had. Now I only want to see Vrindavan Dham once, and then I shall leave this body by jumping from the highest peak of Govardhan. With this idea, he went to Vrindavan, but there he came into contact with Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. He found the beginning of a new life. He thought, what is this? Mahaprabhu has not departed. He is living in them. Mahaprabhu delegated Rupa and Sanatana with the power to preserve the devotional current they had received from him and to present it in a new light. They were asked to prove, by drawing upon different scriptures, that Mahaprabhu's teachings are the very gist and purpose of all scriptures. As in Bhagavad Gita, Vedas cha savar aham eva vidya. The attempt of every revealed scripture is to show me as the highest center. I am the Absolute. So Mahaprabhu said, Krishna is the Absolute. With the help of different scriptures and historical reference, by all means possible, try to prove that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that Braja Lila, Vrindavan Lila, is the highest achievement. The two brothers had already begun that work when Raghunath came into their association, and he found, oh, Mahaprabhu is here. He abandoned the idea of leaving this world and joined Rupa and Sanatana as their disciple. Mahaprabhu had already ordered Sanatana Goswami, my followers are very poor and helpless. You'll have to look after them. Whenever they come to Vrindavan, you have to be the caretaker of all my disciples that come to Vrindavan. So Raghunath came to Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami took care of him. Raghunath was so self-forgetful that one day he was sitting on the banks of Radhakund and taking the name. A tiger came just beside him to drink water, but Raghunath paid no attention. Suddenly Sanatana Goswami came upon the scene. He was astonished. Up until then, Raghunath had lived under the shade of a tree. But Sanatan said, Please construct a hut to live in. Don't disregard my request. I entreat you to this. Then from that time he managed to construct a small dwelling and stay there. His abnegation, Vairagya, was incomparable. Sanatana Goswami and all the Goswamis' indifference to worldly enjoyment was extreme, but Raghunath's abnegation surpassed all. When he was in Puri, sometimes he would beg prasadam at the gate of the Jagannath temple, and sometimes he would take prasadam at Chatram, or free kitchen, where rich men distribute prasadam for beggars. But then he thought, I'm taking what is due to others' karma. The unsold Jagannath prasadam is given to the cows of Jagannath Puri, but when it becomes stale, that it emits a bad odor, even the cows cannot eat it. So now Raghunath would wash that prasadam with sufficient water, and adding a little salt, he would eat that. Mahaprabhu heard about this, and one day, when Raghunath was taking that prasadam, Mahaprabhu approached and suddenly took some and ate it. He said, Oh, I have tasted so many times the prasadam of Jagannath, but such sweet prasadam I have never taken anywhere. So what is the taste in prasadam? It is not mundane. Raghunath had such intense faith in prasadam that he lived on apparently rotten things with a little salt, and he was the son of a family of kingly opulence. So much indifference was in him, and in his last days in Vrindavan, he would pass each day taking only a pot of ghee, buttermilk. This is not possible for a man of flesh and blood. Great souls like the Goswamis are really personalities come down from the other world, and so it was possible for them to show the ideal of abnegation. It is not possible for ordinary humans of flesh and blood to observe such a degree of abnegation without dying. But the Goswamis created the standard and ideal by such vairagya. At the same time, Raghunath studied Rupa Goswami's presentation of the highest type of rasa or devotional sentiment, Madhurya rasa. The acme of divine service. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami appreciated the acme of divine service, the culminating point of divine service, Radha Dashyam, which is servitude unto Srimati Radharani. Therefore he is Prajojana Acharya. Srila Sanatana Goswami is generally conceived of by his successors as the Acharya of Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha refers to what is what. What is my position in the spiritual hierarchy? That was explained most clearly by Sanatana Goswami. And Abhideya, what we should cultivate in order to attain that to our objective, was mainly given by Srila Rupa Goswami. He taught us how we can attain fulfillment of our life in the domain of love, and what is particularly the highest point of our attainment, or prajojana, was very vividly shown by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. In his famous sloka, he says, Asa bhaver amrita sindhu maye, katanchit, kalo mayat timi ti kamita kila sampratam hi. Tvan chet kripam mai vidasyasi naiva kimme, paner brajena se haroru bakarinapi. This sloka was given us the highest conception of our attainment in the school of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is that? Srila Raghunath Goswami is addressing Srimati Radharani. O Queen of my heart, for a long time, long I've waiting with such great patience to have your mercy, which is so sweet to me that I cannot avoid it. It is heart-melting, heart-attracting, heart-crushing. It is so deeply touching me. I cannot avoid your service connection. Somehow I have managed to come such a long way, to endure such a long time. But I'm impatient now. Be gracious. If you are not gracious upon me, I have got no hope. I will come to the end of my patience. My life will end here, so much so that what shall I do with this Vrindavan? Vrindavan is of no use to me. What is the utility of living my life? It is useless. I will end with no utility. I cannot love even Vrindavan, which is associated with the Leela of Krishna. To say nothing of Vrindavan, I cannot relish the company of even Krishna without you. Without you, even Krishna is meaningless to me. I cannot tolerate, I cannot relish either my own life or this environment or even Krishna. If he himself comes to grace me, I cannot relish that without your connection. So please, be gracious upon me. You are all in all. Without you, Krishna consciousness is not Krishna consciousness. Your position is so great, so beautiful in Krishna Lila. You are the center of all the Lila of Krishna. Without you, I cannot conceive of any life worth living. I utterly surrender unto you, my queen. This is Radha Dasya. Our best fulfillment is in the service of Sri Radha, because only she can fully attract the grace of Krishna. She is the other half who can draw the maximum rasa, ecstasy from Krishna, in quantity as well as in quality. So those who are serving Srimati Radharani get the highest type of qualitative rasa from Krishna in reciprocation for their service. That cannot be had through any other channel. Service that comes through Srimati Radharani is of the highest quality, so her service should be our summum bonum of life. This was announced clearly by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who is considered to be the Prajodhana Acharya, the guide to show us our highest fulfillment of life. By our association with this day and by our humble attempt to discuss all these matters, we may be benefited in the achievement of our goal. This is the day of the advent of such great personalities. Then we have another part 3. Today is also the day of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is the departure day. He departed from this world. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur appeared 180 years after the advent of Sri Gauranga Dev. He composed a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and many other books to help the devotees coming later in the Sampradaya. He was such a great Acharya in his own special way. he has dealt elaborately with many spiritual matters. Given the proper approach, he was the Shastrik, or scriptural dispensation of Sri Rupa Sanatana. By his grace, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan composed the Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Sri Govinda Bhashya. From such great masters, there is much to be read. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti was born in a Brahmana family in Devagram of Murshidabad district. He was a great scholar of Sanskrit. He came into the line of Sri Narottam Thakur. He gave us extensive scriptural writings to help us very precisely and elaborately to know about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. Vrindavan, Navadvip, and the Guru Parampara. The Gurvastakam, we chant daily, was written by him, as well as many other important works. Srila Rupa Goswami wrote Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectarian ocean of devotional joy, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhu wrote Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, or a drop of that ocean. And from Sri Rupa's Sri Ujjvala Nilamani, the brilliant jewel of the supernatural world, or Krishna in Madhurya Rasa, he gave Ujjvala Nilamani Kirana, or a ray of that jewel. In this way, he has given volumes of books and poems, as Sri Rupa Goswami gave the Astakaliya Lila of Krishna, or 24-hour service engagement with Sri Sri Radha Govinda. He has similarly given Chaitanya Lila, 24-hour engagement in the service of Sriman Mahaprabhu. So he has done great service to the Sampradaya and profusely bestowed his mercy upon us. Then is also today is the disappearance day of two of our senior godbrothers, sannyasi disciples of our Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj is speaking. Today is the disappearance day of two of our senior godbrothers, sannyasi disciples of our Guru Maharaj, Tridandi Swami Srimad Bhakti Viveka Bharati Maharaj and Tridandi Swami Srimad Bhakti Swarup Parvat Maharaj. They both preached extensively on the order of Srila Prabhupada. Sri Bharati Maharaj was very popular. His preaching style was very charming and engaging. In the beginning, we appreciated his preaching very much. Sri Parvat Maharaj was also amongst the earliest disciples of our Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was born at Swarup Ganja, on the other side of the Ganges from Navadvip. He was born in the house directly next to Surabhi Kunja, where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur lived for some time. During his childhood, he told me, he saw Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur chanting the name. In the early morning, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, just as one calling someone from a distance. A living thing, like one man calling another one. In this way, in a living way, he was calling Krishna. He was in his old age, and his body was somewhat attacked with rheumatism. There was a cement chair constructed there. He would stroll about at his sweet will, and when he felt fatigued, he would take his seat on that chair. That chair is still there today. So at a very early age, Srimad Parvat Maharaj came to Srila Prabhupada and accepted his shelter. For a long period he was posted as the caretaker at Bhakti Kutir. The then head office, a small seaside house in Puri owned by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then, when Prabhupada began his preaching life, Parvat Maharaj became a sannyasi. During the lifetime of Prabhupada, he preached throughout the whole of Bengal and beyond as well. He established a math in Orissa. I remember once, when I was a newcomer in the math, he was telling one gentleman about how he preached on the east side of Bengal. At that place, some people challenged him. "Why have you come to preach here? Don't you know that just nearby on the bank of the river there is a Siddha Mahatma? He has attained the highest end of life. Have you seen him?" He replied to them, "I have seen many Siddha, like Alu Siddha, etc. Siddha may mean perfected soul, but another meaning of Siddha is boiled. So he was saying, I've seen many Siddha, boiled things, boiled potatoes, boiled cabbage, etc. We already have so many boiled things." They said, "What are you saying? You are insulting him." He replied, "This is no insult. Those who are full of all those siddhas, they know nothing. What Mahaprabhu has brought us is the highest. All other proposals are trash and nasty things. We have come from a great Mahatma to carry you the highest objective, the summum bonum of life. Accept Mahaprabhu and Bhagavatam. We hate all those Siddha impostors who are deceiving the people in the garb of religion." Such was the great preaching of Sri Gaudiya Math in those days. To my best capacity, I have tried to represent to you my humble knowledge of these Mahatmas, and I pray that they may be propitiated and give us their favor. With this prayer, I end here. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakak Siddhadev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Gurudev ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Nimacharya Maharaj ki jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Hari Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopala Govindara Sri Madhusuda Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadara Srivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanatan Bhattara Gunata Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasara Gunata Ejai Gosai Gori Charana Vandana Yahoi Te Vignana Sabhista Purana Ejai Gosai Jai Muritara Dasa Tam Sabara Pada Renu Mora Panchakrat Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sane Bhata Janame Mo Eya Bila Ejai Gosai Jabe Braja Kolaba Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Jai Aman, Sri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas. Hari Nam Sankirtana Kore Narottama Das. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo. Jaya Sabai Karsi Si Guru Kuranga Radhikiri Darju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Niyamalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Sri Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Ragak Sida Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Bhagavan Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Sapashada Sima Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Jaya Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Jai Sri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jai Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jai Sri Purushottama Dham Ki Jai. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Jai Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat West London Chapter Ki Jai. Samadvaita Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Jai Sri Krishna Vasanta Panchami Ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.